My 38F fiancé, 42M, is inappropriately talking to other women. What to do? I, 38F, got engaged to my fiancé, 42M, earlier this year. For a while, I thought I was the happiest woman alive. He had this way of smiling that made me feel like I was finally safe, like I'd found someone who saw me. But looking back now, I can't help but wonder if I ever truly saw him, or if I just fell in love with who I wanted him to be. The night we got engaged, I remember the lights were soft, the restaurant was almost empty, and he held my hand across the table. "You're my forever," he said. I believed him, every word, every touch. I didn't know that behind that promise, he was still having late-night conversations with other women, laughing at jokes that weren't mine, sending emojis that used to be ours. It started subtly. Little things. A woman from work texting him late. "Just wanted to ask about that project," she said. I ignored it. I told myself it was professional, but soon the tone changed. He started calling her his work wife. At first, I laughed it off because I didn't want to seem insecure. But deep inside, something felt wrong. There was a shift, invisible but heavy. He'd smile at his phone, tilt it slightly away when I walked by. Once, I saw a notification flash. "You always know how to make me smile." I asked him who it was, and he said, "Just my colleague, you're overthinking." Overthinking. That became the word he used every time I questioned something. I remember one night, around 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep. The air felt thick, like it was holding secrets. I went to the kitchen to drink some water, and there he was, on the couch, phone in hand, light from the screen reflecting on his face. He didn't hear me at first. His expression was soft, almost tender as he typed. When he finally noticed me, he jumped a little, locked his phone quickly. "Who were you talking to?" I asked, my voice shaking. He sighed, rubbed his forehead like I'd just accused him of something impossible. "It's just a friend." God, you really don't trust me, do you? I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. It was like my throat had closed up. I hated that moment, not because of the lie, but because of how small it made me feel. The next morning, I tried to pretend everything was fine. I made coffee, smiled, kissed him goodbye as he left for work. But my chest was heavy, and the silence in the kitchen screamed louder than any fight ever could. Weeks passed, and I found more. Flirty messages, inside jokes, pictures, not explicit, but intimate enough to hurt. I confronted him again, and that night turned into one of the ugliest fights we've ever had. "You're blowing this out of proportion," he said, voice sharp, anger flashing in his eyes. "It's just talking. I can't even have friends now?" "Friends don't send heart emojis at midnight," I said quietly. He groaned, pacing. "You make it impossible to breathe sometimes. I have to walk on eggshells around you." That line hit me like a slap. Walk on eggshells? Because I expected basic respect? He went on, his voice trembling with frustration. "You don't let me be myself. You make me feel like I'm not allowed to talk to anyone. I can't be who I am around you." My heart sank. "All I asked for," I whispered, "was for you to not have inappropriate conversations with other women. That's not control. That's boundaries." He shook his head, laughed bitterly. "Boundaries or walls? Maybe it's just easier talking to other women. They don't make me feel like I'm constantly doing something wrong." Those words broke something inside me. It wasn't just what he said. It was how easily he said it. Like my pain was just a price he didn't care to pay. That night, I couldn't sleep again. The air in the bedroom was cold, heavy with silence. I turned to look at him sleeping, his face peaceful, and I wondered, how can he look so calm while I'm falling apart inside? I thought of the messages, the laughter, the tiny betrayals that kept adding up like small cracks in glass. He once told me men don't emotionally cheat because they don't feel emotions that way, that it's just conversation. I remember staring at him, wondering how he could say that to my face. How could he claim something isn't cheating just because it didn't involve touch? Didn't he understand that every time he shared his thoughts, his day, his laughter with someone else, It was like taking pieces of what used to belong to us and handing them away. I tried to convince myself it would change. I forgave him once, twice, maybe more times than I should admit. I told myself love was about patience, that if I stayed, he'd see how much I cared. But forgiveness started to feel like self-destruction. Each time I forgave him, I lost a little more of myself. I remember one evening vividly. It was raining, the kind of soft rain that smells like earth and nostalgia. I was sitting by the window, watching raindrops race down the glass. He walked in, phone in hand as always. I asked him gently, "Can we talk?" He didn't even look up. "About what now?" "About us," I said quietly. "I feel like we're falling apart." He sighed, still typing. "You always say that." "We're fine. You just overthink everything." I wanted to scream. To tell him that it wasn't overthinking. It was instinct. It was heartbreak. It was intuition. But instead, I just stared at him, his face illuminated by the blue light of the phone, the same device that had become the wall between us. He finally looked up, saw the tears in my eyes, and said, almost defensively, "Why do you always make me the bad guy? I'm tired of feeling like I can't be myself." I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Your self hurts me," I said. "Your self disrespects me. If being yourself means flirting with other women, then maybe I don't know who you really are." He went silent. For a moment, I thought maybe he'd understand. But he just stood there, looking at me like I was the problem. That night I cried until my chest ached. The sound of the rain mixed with my sobs, and I realized I wasn't crying just for him. I was crying for every version of me that had tried to believe his lies. In the days that followed, I became quieter. I stopped checking his phone, stopped asking questions. I just shut down. I started existing around him instead of with him. We'd sit on the same couch but feel miles apart. He'd talk about his day, and I'd nod, pretending to listen while my mind drifted to memories of who we used to be. One evening, he looked at me and said, "You've changed. You don't laugh anymore. You don't talk to me like you used to." I wanted to tell him that he was the reason, that every "just a friend" had stolen another piece of my laughter. But I stayed quiet, because I knew he wouldn't understand. Sometimes silence is louder than shouting. There were moments when I'd catch myself remembering the way he held my hand when we got engaged, the promises he made, the way he said he'd protect me. And then I'd see the reality. Him laughing at his phone, hiding messages, telling me I'm too sensitive. It was like watching love rot in slow motion. One day, I finally asked him, "Do you even love me?" He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me, expression unreadable. "Of course I do." "Why would you even ask that?" "Because it doesn't feel like it," I said. "It feels like you love the idea of me, not me." He shook his head, muttered something about me being dramatic, and walked away. That's when it hit me. Love shouldn't make you feel crazy. It shouldn't make you beg for clarity or cry yourself to sleep wondering if you're enough. I started journaling after that, writing down everything I couldn't say out loud. Each page felt like a confession to myself. The things I ignored, the pain I buried, the hope I still clung to. Sometimes when I'd read back those entries, I'd feel this ache in my chest. Because deep down, I already knew what I had to do. But leaving someone you love, even when they hurt you, is one of the hardest things in the world. He told me once that men can't emotionally cheat because they don't have emotions to cheat. I think that line will haunt me forever, because it showed me exactly what he thought love was. Something shallow, something without depth. But love, real love, requires emotional honesty, respect, presence. Now, as I write this, I'm sitting alone in my living room. It's quiet except for the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. The air feels still, almost suffocating. His things are still here. His jacket on the chair, his cologne lingering faintly in the air. But he feels like a ghost now. I don't know what will happen next. I'm not ready to walk away completely, not yet. But I know something has changed. I'm not the same woman who used to beg for his attention. I'm not the same person who confused forgiveness with endurance. I'm learning that protecting your peace sometimes means losing someone you love. I don't hate him, not even after everything, but I do hate the way he made me feel, like I was asking for too much, just by asking for respect. Maybe one day I'll look back at this and see it as the beginning of my healing. But for now, I'm just trying to survive the nights when my mind replays every, "it's just a conversation," that broke my heart. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes, love doesn't end with a bang. It fades quietly, message by message, until there's nothing left but silence. And maybe, just maybe, that silence is where I'll finally find myself again. AITA, for telling my best friend's partner that I don't want to be involved in their relationship. My best friend has been dating this girl for about 2/3 of a month. We'll call the girlfriend Ellie. Best friend has finally just moved abroad to go study for the year, and Ellie knew this before they started dating. The last weekend they had a really bad argument, and Ellie behaved horribly and dumped my best friend. By the end of the night, they end up calling again and deciding to have a proper talk in person a week later. Now my best friend tells me all of this conflict in detail and asks for advice and comfort. I advise them to not consider getting back together with this person, as that behavior is not normal, and I don't think that it's exactly forgivable. My best friend disagrees, and then the following week they get back together. I get a two text from the girlfriend. First one was a voice message with both the best friend and herself talking about an ex behaving weirdly. Second voice message was just Ellie saying, "Best friend doesn't know I'm sending you this, but I'm drunk, and I want to say that I hope you don't think I don't love them, and that breaking up with them is something I didn't want to do, and I love this person so, so much. Like you don't even get it, and I really like you too, and I totally get it. If you hate me, you probably hate me, and I expect that of you as you are best friends, and you should totally back them after everything." I listened to it and was like, this makes me uncomfortable, and it's really weird, but I don't want to make it awkward and leave her unopened, so I said I would listen later. I proceeded to go about my day, and then later on sent a text like this. "Hey Ellie, sorry for the late response. I have had a busy day today, and just needed to gather myself before I had the chance to respond. I don't need you to prove to me that you love my best friend. You need to show best friend that. I am their best friend, and will always advise them on what I think is best. But ultimately, their choice is their choice, and they can decide for themselves, and I will always respect their wishes. Your relationship is between yourselves, and if best friend was seeking guidance, or had concerns, or needed comfort, I would provide whatever I can for them. I'm not sure what has made you feel like you needed to reassure me of your feelings for them, but just remember, your relationship is with them, and it's a matter for the both of yous." And then I sent a screenshot to best friend, as I just wanted to make sure that they know about this conversation happening. I proceeded to get bombarded with texts from Ellie along the lines of, "Not going to lie, this text rubbed me the wrong way, and I was drunk with best friend, and didn't think you would take it this bad, or speak to me like I'm an idiot of as serious as you are. It's weird, and makes me uncomfortable, as I never had that impression of you. But that's grand, no bothers." So immediately, I'm really confused as I thought I was being nice and polite. So I follow up with, "Hey, maybe I interpreted the message wrong. In being cordial with you? I have no issue and was confused why you were telling me that you really do love best friend, and just tried to give a diplomatic answer. I am not intending to be condescending, just being polite." She then tells I am being condescending and making her feel like a dick, and tells me to stop texting her. I'm still really, really confused, thinking, I cleared things up and ask what I did. That feels condescending, and this I don't want to fight with her, but I just don't want to be brought into their relationship. She says that, "Did everything change when we broke up? Were you being cordial or friendly at best friends leaving party?" I assumed different, and that's fine. I understand we aren't, and I don't want to be, and I don't want beef. But the way you spoke was awful formal and made me feel you were being condescending, and made me feel like a dick if you're separating yourself from our relationship. Don't have an opinion ever. I continue to try and further clarify that, hey, I speak and spoke like this, as I thought it's better to be direct and speak plainly, so that way things don't get taken the wrong way. And that's why I'm confused right now. I don't want to be caught in the middle of something, and that's why I sent that message. You brought up that you believed that I hated you and thought ill of you, but I haven't spoken to you since the leaving party, so I'm unsure why you have belief as to why I feel that way, and I'm sorry to hear that you believe that's what I think about you. Apparently, my last text was a bitchy comment, and I should just drop it, and I did. I texted best friend with all information and screenshots so we could analyze maybe what I did wrong, but they told me that they don't want to pick sides, and they see both sides, and it's just a miscommunication. Parents-in-law demand fiancé remove his piercings, and GMA in-law threatens fiancé over them too. We have a wonderful relationship, and despite being engaged very young, we are very confident in our relationship. His parents, while not the greatest folks around, are very accepting of our genders, sexualities, and personal styles, and have been trying their absolute best to use my fiancé's new name and pronouns. They have been amazing to me as someone who has no contact with their own abusive parents, so for the most part they've been decent. His grandma has not. She is an ornery old bitch and misgenders him and I every single time we talk to her and any time we're mentioned to anyone else. I have been holding my tongue for the sole reason that she's very old and my fiancé's grandma. So we go down to the home state maybe once a month if we can afford the gas. Enter 2 weeks ago. We went down for a local festival GMA had invited us to, as well as a somewhat local witch festival me and my fiancé really wanted to go to. All was well on the first day until we went to visit the GMA before we headed for the witch festival later that night. GMA immediately starts making comments about fiancé's new piercings, ridiculing them and misgendering my fiancé in front of me. I hold my tongue because fiancé had asked me before we went inside to not say anything. GMA continues this behavior for almost an hour until my fiancé's parents show up, and then somehow it gets worse. The parents didn't necessarily join in, but they did ask very pointed questions that were very heavily underlaid with judgment. My fiancé is autistic and doesn't usually get subtext, so he barely reacted. Then they decided to make comments later at lunch about how fiancé should remove the piercings and stop ruining his face. We got through that day, had a wonderful time at the witch festival, and went to the parents' house to sleep. We had an uneventful night, woke up, and headed back to the GMA's house to go to the local festival with her together. We have a good time for the most part. It's worth noting that I have POTS, and it was incredibly hot that day, and I was not having a good time physically. GMA bought fiancé some things, and bought us drinks when my fiancé pointed out my need for a drink and shade. While drinking our drinks, GMA threatened to rip out my fiancé's new piercings if they weren't out of his face by the next time we saw her. Fiancé said, "No, you're not," and GMA continued back and forth, continuously threatening to tear them out. I didn't say anything because I'd again been asked not to, but I've spent the last year trying to undo all of the negative energy my fiancé carries with him, and it killed me to see him folding in on himself. Should I have said something? I feel awful that every time we go down, it takes fiancé about 4 days to be normal again. I hate seeing his parents. Again, very good parents normally. A few flaws, but nothing like my own parents. Ridicule their kid in veiled ways he doesn't recognize. I just don't know what to do. He's very attached to his parents, and I want him to be able to have a relationship with them that I cannot with my own parents. But if I bring up low or no contact with his grandma, he shuts the idea down. Any tips?